begin on page 10 with Hine Matov. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat shalom and welcome. We're so glad those of you in the synagogue are with us worshiping tonight, and we welcome those of you who in the comfort of your home. We're glad you're here as well. How good and how pleasant it is that brothers and sisters dwell together. And we'll continue with Mayafe Hayom, which is on the same page. Mayafe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Mayafe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Mayafe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Mayafe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. How lovely today is. Shabbat Shalom. Continuing with our candle blessing, I'll be reading on page 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. And continuing with the Kiddush, which you'll find on page 5. Please rise if you're able. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzevanu be seated. On page 8, please read with me. I begin with a prayer. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. And we'll continue with Shir Hadash, which in Hebrew begins on page 13. And then a lot of us by now know the English, but if you'd like to flip back to page 344, way in the back, and hold your finger there when we start singing the English, it's there kind of toward the bottom of the page. This brings us to Lachado D, where we will welcome our Sabbath bride. It begins on page 20. And we sing the first two verses and then stand to rise to greet the Sabbath bride as if she were coming in the back door and sing the last verse and then turn back around. seated. A Psalm for Shabbat on page 22. I'll read the first stanza and then please responsively read the second stanza. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Beautiful. Okay, so we've welcomed the Sabbath bride, and now to welcome our Shabbat angels with Shalom Aleichem, which you'll find on page 24.
Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzechem leShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So please turn to page 26 for the Hatzi Kaddish. Oops, I better get myself on the right page. Yekadal v'yekadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra kirute, v'yam lichma hute, b'chayehon u'v'yomechon, u'chayeh kol Beit Yisrael, b'agalau esman kariv, v'yemeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam olmei hamaya, yitbarak, yitbarak, v'yishtabak, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit haleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudasha brihu, leila min kol birkata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damin ram yama, v'yimaru, amen. And please turn to page 28 for the Barku. We open this too, right? It's very warm in here. Sorry. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Okay, please be seated. And we will now turn to page 30. This is the Mariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chochma poteach she'arim, uvituna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, v'mishmerotehim, v'rakia kirtsono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei chodesh, v'choshech mipnei or, umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila. Adonai tzavaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Praise be to you, Adonai our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night, as heaven spans to infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And over the page, on page 32, everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And over the page, let's read together the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. We will now go to page 37 for the Behafta. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. And on page 40, we have the Michamocha. Michamocha is a prayer that gives thanks to God for redeeming us from Egypt. We say it in the morning and evening services, and it comes from the book of Exodus after the Israelites crossed the Red Sea. Okay. Let's read responsibly. Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness? awesome in splendor, working wonders. Your children witnessed your sovereignty, the sea splitting before Moses and Miriam. This is our God, they cried. Adonai will reign forever. Thus is it said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. And on page 44, we have the Shamru. If you are able, please stand.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam.
Please turn to page 48, where we're going to be doing the Tefillah Amidah, which is a silent prayer. This is your opportunity to communicate with God by reading the words in the Siddur or speaking the words in your heart. We'll just flip our page. Adonai safetativta ufid yagid lahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
So, Parsha Shalach is our, is our portion for today. We're told the story of the spies. This is the story of the spies who investigate the land of Israel before the people enter and settle there. The spies return to report. Let me back up a minute. Okay. This is from my Jewish learning Rabbi James Jacobson Maisels. So it's not all my ideas. There's a couple of mine, but mostly his, okay? So just to clarify that. Okay, so the spies go out and they're given their report. They return with the report that though the land is bountiful, the people who dwell within it are strong, terrible, and cannot be overcome. Despite the lone protests of Caleb, who insists that the Israelites can indeed possess the land, the people of Israel are paralyzed with fear. They begin to weep and defame God, and then they insist on returning to Egypt. It is this rebellion that is punished by 40 years in the desert wandering. What we witness in the story is the spies of the spies is a profound failure of confidence and trust. Despite their dramatic exodus from Egypt and victories over their enemies on the journey, the majority of the spies lack faith in their ability to conquer the land. Though they admit that the land itself is rich, flowing with milk and honey, they conclude, but the people are strong. They see themselves as powerless to confront the challenges that lie before them, telling the people, the Israelites, that we were in our own eyes as grasshoppers, and so were we in theirs. So what is striking about the statement is their projection of their own fear and lack of confidence onto the enemy. Because they felt as helpless as grasshoppers, they imagined that the inhabitants could surely see them as such. Even more devastating than their lack of faith in themselves is their lack of faith in God. Implied in the Talmud, the rabbis take the spies' assessment of the enemy's relative strength further by rereading the pivotal verses, "They are stronger than us. They are stronger than him." By changing a pronunciation of a single vowel in the Hebrew, suggests that the spies were actually claiming that the Canaanites were more powerful than God. The profound lack of confidence is not foreign to us, this profound lack of confidence. Faced with overwhelming and seemingly oppressive power, such as the war with Russia over Ukraine, the recent thing that Cindy told me about with the court ruling today, the devastating impact of natural disasters, and the inequalities in our own country, we often feel helpless before forces and people beyond our control. Yet, in so many small and large ways, our impact can be felt. Sorry. I'm like shaking like a leaf up here. I don't feel nervous, but my body just like does its own thing. So if I look shaky, it's just my body. So, all right. The power of every individual to impact a situation is implied in the verses from the Parsha, which explicitly names every spy who entered the land. This naming suggests a focus on individual responsibility, an assertion that each person can make a profound difference, as Caleb and Moses do in defending the people before God after the rebellion. While this power is not magic, a magic wand to achieve everything, Caleb and Moses were able to win immediate entry. Neither Caleb nor Moses is able to win the immediate entry for the people into the land, but they transform the death sentence into a promise of deferred into the land of the 40 years. So they're able to negotiate. So like Moses and Caleb, we make progress in fits and starts. By averting tragedy or making a situation bearable, we slowly heal the world and make it a better place. And this slow healing, this taking responsibility, and doing what we're able can have profound consequences. I like to think of myself as a glass half full kind of girl. But at times, the half empty gal comes out, right? The thoughts. I was recently on a Zoom session and shared my thoughts and feelings of being overwhelmed with the vastness of the inequalities or the social injustices in the world, and feeling that my contributions were tiny, and did they really matter? My fellow Zoomies were having a better day, and they were very encouraging with their comments, and just to keep on striving is all that we can do. So many of the problems we encounter in the world seem this way, overwhelming, complicated, and insolvable. Often social conditions and structures of power seem too deeply entrenched to change, or too large to conquer, as they did to the spies. But on a closer look, this story reveals that merely a failure of vision and not a failure of ability was in place. So I encourage us all to keep on the path of healing the world. Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, it's great. I needed that today. I really did. I needed that today. We are going to move on to words of healing, which I know we all need, and we all know someone who needs healing. So please turn to page 253 for the Misha Berach. 253. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who we mention today. Joan Bloomfield, Robin Cohen, Raul da Silva, David Hayes, Diana Heller, Rob Hirsch, Penina Kulikant, Barbara Kurtzman, Kit Levine, Sharon Maslow, Rick Moss, Dave Podolsky, Margaret Schmidt, Elliot Schwartz, Sherrod Shelub, John Sidders, Melanie Spielman, Rebecca Woolish, Marsha Lee Gans. And if you have anybody that needs healing that hasn't been mentioned, I'm going to go around the room, and if you can just whisper or shout out their names. And we'll send them all comfort and relief speedy in our days and grant them a complete healing of body, mind, and spirit. Sharon? Frida? Fred?
My son, David Michael, and the new friend, Connie. Lorraine and Jennifer.
And I'm going to add Daniela Ginsberg, Ashton Safatian, Ann Jonas, Darla Spear, and Marlise Burnett. Let's sing the Mishaberach of Retainer, please. Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mekor habracha levavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Please rise for the Aleinu, and that you'll find on page 282. Aleinu lishaberach ladon hakol, leitik gedula lotzeit breshit, shelo asanu bogei aratzon, velo samanu ki mishpachot hadama. Shelo samcholkeinu vahem, vegor aleinu kechol haonam. V'nachnu korim u'mishtachvarim u'modin lifnei melech malachei malachim hakadosh baruch hu. We carry on page 284 on the top. Shehu noten samayim v'yotzad haaretz, u'mol Hashem ya'akor b'shamayim v'yamo, u'chai natzuzo, u'shi natzuzo, v'kov v'moramim, u'Eloheinu enod, emet malkeinu efesulato, karatu b'torato, v'yad b'toyom, v'hashifriyawo, elabavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, v'shamayim v'yamo, v'al haaretz mitachat enod. And we complete to page 287. V'ne'emar, v'hayer Adonai, l'melech hakol haaretz, hayom hahu, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. I now call Jackie Ransdale for the installation of the new board and announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. How are we doing this week? Me too.
Okay. Let's see. Let's do announcements first, and then we'll do the big production. Somewhere up here, there's maybe a birthday list somewhere. I see the yahrzeit list. There it is. Thank you, Leslie, for preparing me as always. I appreciate that. I really do. Okay, birthdays. Dun, 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 dun. Wow, we have lots of birthdays. Robert Dingler, June 24th. Kathy Cole, June 26th. Mimi Nash, June 27th. Rabbi Janice Mary, June 28th. Robin Elliott and Jerry Boots on June 29th, and Sylvia Drucker on June 30th. Lots of birthdays this week. Wow. Happy birthday, everybody. But no anniversaries. All the June weddings are over. They were all earlier in the month. No more anniversaries. Okay, so that takes care of that. I think also all the June activities are over. I don't think we have anything coming up this week. I think our big activity coming up is a bat mitzvah on July 15th. That's our big one coming up, so don't want to miss out on that. All right, let's move on to our installation. So normally, I think historically, we've had a rabbi do this, so I got a little creative, so you'll all have to just bear with me because I got maybe a little wackadoodle on this one. I'm going to take this out of here because I'm not good at standing still while I talk. I probably should have put one of those microphone things on, but that's okay. This'll work. All right, so you're all going to have to pay attention if you're on the board, either the old board or the new board, because they're standing up and sitting down and walking and other things. So is this on? Can you all hear me? Okay. I can never tell when I'm up here. I feel a little bit like I'm in a vacuum. Okay, so this is going to sound very formal. Are you ready for this? And this is from a rabbi on the East Coast wrote this. And for some reason, I did not write the gentleman's name down, but I will thank him for writing this. I've taken some poetic license with it, though. With the permission of all those assembled, we will begin our installation ceremony. We honor all those who have served Congregation Ortsaphone with devotion, love, and hard work. We take pride in our past presidents and the achievement of their administrations, and together we look forward to the future. At this moment, we charge all those who will serve Congregation Ortsaphone in the coming year to take upon themselves the responsibility of their office. We call upon the members of the outgoing board to please rise in their places. Okay, this is the first standing up part. Outgoing. If you're outgoing, even if you're staying next year, please stand up. So if you were on the board last year, please stand up. I'll make it really clear. Wow, we got a lot of you here. That's excellent. Okay. So, how many of you are familiar, everyone in the room, if you're familiar with the British, hip hip, huzzah, remember that? Okay, so instead of huzzah, we're going to say todah for thank you, okay? So I'm going to say something, and then you're all going to say todah. We ready? We thank you for your dedication, todah. For your efforts, todah. For your achievements. Todah. Most importantly, we thank you for your example. Todah. Okay. While you remain standing, we call upon the incoming members of the board to rise. So if you're going to be a board member next year, please stand. All right, so we got one. Well, a lot of them are staying, and you're new, and we got a couple of newbies not here. All right, so we offer this prayer. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham v'Sarah, Yitzhak v'Rivka, Yaakov, Rachel v'Leah. May God, who blessed our fathers and mothers, bless all those who devote themselves to the needs of the Jewish community, strengthening synagogues, schools of learning, and homes, providing for those in need, building the land of Israel, supporting the Jewish people wherever they may be, and considering the Jewish tradition. May the Holy One reward you, and may the divine presence bless your worthy endeavors. And let us all say, Amen. Please be seated. You'll be happy to know we're 25% done. Only an accountant would know that part, right? Okay. Here comes the next standing part. Are y'all paying attention? I now call the outgoing Secretary, Linda Baker, and Treasurer, Larry Spielman, to come up and stand up here. And we're also going to involve imagination, because you're going to imagine, if you will, that this is a quill. It was the closest I could come. It's a COT pen. This is your quill. I did, however, have a real tzedakah box. These are the tokens of your office. You have recorded our decisions, collected our dues, and paid our bills. Your responsibilities have not always been among the most glamorous, but they are certainly quite important. You have enabled COT to remain viable and strong. May you go mehayil lehayil, from strength to strength. The quill, the token of the office of secretary, is now passed on. Pass it from one hand to the other, because you're outgoing and incoming. We read in the book of Esther, and I'm only going to read the English because my Hebrew, I'm stretching the limits of my Hebrew here. Write for the Jews what is good in your eyes. And Linda does a phenomenal job with her minute taking. For those of you who haven't seen them, she is meticulous, and we are grateful for that. The tzedakah box, the token of the office of treasurer, is now passed on. Thank you. We read in the second book of Chronicles, go out to the cities and collect money from all of Israel. So I will now ask both of you to migrate over to this side of the bima. Bill Alexander, building and maintenance. And we're not shown here. I would call not shown ritual as our next two. No, I'm just going to ask you to hold it. But I am also going to ask you to hold Nachshon, since he's not here. Nachshon gets our very lovely dreidel. Okay. The shofar. May we learn how to call our people together. The dreidel. May we learn that great miracles can happen, even here as well. Leslie Moss, education. Tolly's not here for us to pass on to, so you'll get to do the same dance. And Nancy Ostran is not here, so I'm going to let you hold hers and yours. So you are the grogger. And Nancy is the Seder plate. All right, the grogger. May we learn to ever drown out the noise of adversity. And the Seder plate. May we learn to always take the bitter and always dip it into the sweet. All right, Naomi Blakely, and as membership, and although we did not have Ways and Means officially this year, I am honorarily calling Larry Karras because he helped us so much with our football and Super Bowl pools. So if you're watching out there, Larry, we're thinking of you. All right, so I will hold those. Naomi has the mezuzah, and Larry has the spice box. Mezuzah and our spice box. So, the mezuzah. May we learn to make our homes places where the Word of God is to be found. And the spice box. May we learn to distinguish between Kodesh, that which is sacred, and whole, that which is profane. I better move that back. Knowing me, I'll knock it over. Okay, we're getting close here, folks. Joan Bloomfield for adult education, and Mindy Prophet for communications. Again, both not here, but I will act in their stead since I'm running back and forth and getting my extra steps in today. The Yad and the Kiddush cup. Fred, it dawns on me, you didn't come up here for Ways and Means. I forgot. Come on up here. Here, you can hold these two. We'll improvise. Fred is our new Ways and Means.
Maybe I should have the tzedakah box because I'll be coming.
Okay, so the Yad, which was for adult education, because we're improvising here. May we learn to point ourselves and others in the direction of the Torah. And the Kiddush cup, may we learn to share with others the sweetness and the joy of Judaism. All right, Fred, please join us over here. And then Theresa for social action, and Larry and Melanie Spielman, co-past presidents. Larry's already up here, so Melanie, you're going to represent co-past presidents. Because Larry wore multiple hats last year. And you could stay right there so you don't have to walk extra. So you have the Siddur, and you have the heavy Tanakh. So the Siddur represents, may we learn the words that enable us to speak to God, and the Tanakh, may we learn how to listen to the words of God wherever they may be found. So, for those of you who are on the last year's board, or in your last year's role, you have been my eyes, ears, voice, and hands as COT's president. You can be said to represent Shivtei Yisrael, the 12 tribes of Israel. You are a living symbol of our organization's diversity and its unity. You have blessed me, our president, with your support, your advice, and your hard work. And for that, not only am I grateful, but all of COT is grateful. I'm only slightly unorganized tonight. The Hanukkah is the token of the office of the president. As president, I have assumed the responsibility of gathering the many sparks of devotion and dedication of our congregation day by day until they become a bright flame, illuminating our synagogue, our community, and indeed the Jewish world with the light of service to God and humanity. I have a hard time reading that because it sounds a little self-serving, but I'm reading the script here, so bear with me. But I think it is important that we work as a team and light all the candles and make COT a bright and illuminating place, but definitely as a team or as a group, as a community. So I'm going to ask the outgoing board members to repeat after me. Hazak, may you be strong. And now the incoming board members. Hazak. That was much better. May you be strong. There we go. Now, everybody, all together, out there and up here. This one's a tough one. V'nith azek. Let us strengthen one another. And let us all say, Amen. And you may be seated. Leave your goodies on the piano, if you would, please. And while you are seating, lastly, I'm excited to get started on planning and executing for our new year with our new team. But first, I just want to say a personal thank you to each of the outgoing board members for their diligence and tenacity during a very busy and very challenging year. I am personally grateful for all of your efforts as you made my role much more manageable than it might otherwise have been. So during the Oneg, I will be visiting upon you a small token of my personal appreciation. Shabbat Shalom. And ladies, I'm turning it back over to you.
Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. This Shabbat we remember Gisela Friedman, grandmother of Sharon George, Margaret Lowe, mother of Jean Lowe, Stanley Baker, father of Linda Baker, Tricia Beers, of blessed memory, Julius Mandelbaum, of blessed memory, Leah Shebe, grandmother of Linda Pryor, Michael Salzman, father of Steve Salzman, and we remember Charlotte Scheinach, aunt of Michelle Scher Robles and Don Scher Daner, who passed away this week, and John Wheaton, friend of Joel and Diane Chesler, who passed away this month. And we take into our hearts all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. And Sharon and Steve and Linda, if all three of you would like to come up and be together as one of you lights the candle for your loved one. Both your fathers. Sam, you want to light the candle? We'll let them get back to their seats, and then you'll find the Mourner's Kaddish on page 295. Excuse me, 294. And please rise if you're able. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah Bi'alma divrach hirute mikmal chute B'hayehon uvyomehon uvhaye dechol beit Yisrael B'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevorach leolam olmei olmaya Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitabar v'yitnaman v'yitnaseh Viet Hadar, Viet Taleh, Viet Talal, Shemei de Kudasha, Brihu, Leol, Inkol Bir Hata, Vishirata, Tush Bahata, Venehamata, Da Miram Bialma, Vimaru, Amen. Yehesh Lama Rabba Min Shemaya, Vahayim Aleinu Ve'akol Yisrael, Vimaru, Amen. Ose Shalom Vimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'akol Yisrael, v'maru, Amen. And you can be seated.
We're going to end our service with Shalom Rav on page 60. 60. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav, Israel Omcha, Tesim Leolam. Ki ata alachado, lakol shalom. Shalom, everyone. Have a good evening. Safe travel.